Car check, call it in.
Check.
Check. I'm good, let's do this.
In the Azerbaijan mountain sequence, our heroes hit the ground and just go chasing after their target.
Ramsey will be in the bus.
Trying to have real stunt people going down a mountainside that is safe, and then getting cameras there and operators. I mean, there's so much going on. We have to move on, please. Pikes Peak is 14,000 feet high, and we were shooting almost at the very top at points.
They're at very high altitude, so they had the whole oxygen deficiency thing.
People get very lightheaded, and cars don't run right, and helicopters don't run right, and you just don't have the oxygen to make those things work.
It was challenging. You just walk upwards for 10 seconds and you're lightheaded and you're like, whoa.
Welcome, anytime. Are you winded?
Anytime.
Are you tired?
So our good guys are all dropping in their cars right behind this bus that is carrying this person that has this technology they need. And they have to figure out a way to get them off the bus.
The stunts, the effects, the explosions, we did everything practical.
They go racing down this mountain at breakneck speed trying to catch up to the convoy. And they just go hauling ass right towards the back of this bus.
All right, formation.
That's so much fun. Designing the battering ram of the cars all lining up and plowing through the bad guys to get to the main bus.
When we did it, I actually thought about tying them together, and they all really wanted to do it themselves, and they did it, and it looked so much better being free because you saw that. The fighting and the car getting sideways and really controlling it, even though we had the means to chain them together and just drive down the street. In retrospect, it wouldn't have looked as good. Ow! Brian and Tej drive up to the side of the bus and plant explosives. And Dom and Letty fire harpoons into the back of the bus. Instead of stopping them or going through a window, we blow the entire back of the bus off and rip it off the back. Now we have a whole opening where we can get to our person. So he saves her by just pushing her. We did that with a stunt double. On the bus, we had an overhead wire, so we couldn't lose her, but it's all her. And it's a hard hit. As soon as she hits the hood of the car, here comes our bad guy, Shaw. Spiro was adamant about this first hit being a big hit.
Then our heroes go off-road, which was something that we've never seen before in this particular franchise. Seeing cars going off crazy terrain was really exciting. I remember Chris Morgan pitching to me that sequence and saying that it should feel like this speeder bike sequence in Return of the Jedi. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is gonna be amazing.
Working on the side of a mountain, we were sending cars with people in them down a mountain, hitting ramps and stuff.
That was a tough location because the weather was really harsh.
We had a storm that was one of the worst storms in at least 100 years, and we got shut down for a few days.
No day!
It was one of those uh-oh moments, like, oh, is this gonna be a tough road?
You'd come out in the morning, there'd be 2 feet of snow on the cars. Batteries don't operate as well in those temperatures. Fuel doesn't atomize as well in those temperatures, so there's some little drivability issues.
You just never knew when you were gonna get hail and when you were gonna get snow and freezing temperatures, and everything came to this big head at one point where we said, guys, we have to shut down. We can't really shoot in this kind of weather until it clears up. And then Spiro would go, I'm not stop shooting. I'll go down 4 miles and we'll shoot down there. And so we'd move the whole pack down to the bottom.
The gag when Dom and Shaw first go off the cliff and do their drop together. We had 1 day left, but it was the most important thing that I wanted to shoot. And I remember the producer saying, you know, we might not make it because of the weather, and the weather was the most beautiful day we had. The gag went as beautiful as it could go.
We were running through trees, and we had jumps and just shearing off branches. And then we had a tree made out of steel, and then Dan dressed a real tree around it. It's probably 30-foot long tree that had supposedly fallen down as a skewer on this end. And we jumped that car about 80 feet right into the tree. And just skewer it.
Oh, look at your This is awesome.
The highlight for me was designing the brine bus sequence.
We did everything from squibs on a car to flipping cars down mountainsides. We can have everybody doing all this stuff, but can this bus practically drive at speeds down these mountain roads? I called Mike Ryan. He is the one that races the actual tractor trucks down Pikes Peak. So I knew that if anybody could do it, it would be him. He went and found a way, did it, and not only that, he was also able to flip it. So when we flipped the bus, it wasn't about putting cannons and get this nice flip. It's about getting it to travel and get distance. So we used just a wood ramp to flip the bus. Mike sat there and got some speed. We did it on a downhill, and it was all about getting this thing on its side and getting it moving. We really flipped it, then we really dragged it to an edge of a real cliff.
The bus that Paul is in is locked from the back. The only way he can get up is through the front of the bus, and now the bus is sliding towards the edge of a cliff, and it's dangling there, precariously about to fall off.
I have my rigging team there and Phil Collada doubling. So we have Phil over this 160-foot cliff, and he's inside the bus, which is on a rig, but he has to drop out and hang on the door and then crawl around the front of the bus to the top. And it's all practical. And as it drops, he has to be on the bus and time it. So he gets to the rear of the bus just as it drops away. So it's a one-take deal.
And he has to run across the roof and jump off just at the right time.
We pushed it to where it's gonna start going over. He waited, and when it starts to tilt like that, he starts running. And he hit it absolutely perfect. He is right on the back corner of the bus as it drops 150 feet to the bottom, and now he's in the air, you know.
We obviously had all the safety you can do. He was cabled, but he was really running on it. It really went off a cliff, and then we really took the bus and dropped it off of another cliff that went on forever and ever.
It's a pretty outrageous, cool sequence that we did all practically, and a lot of different rigs, a lot of stunt work that took timing and a lot of skill. It looks so good.